Welcome back to Real Estate with Mariah and Spenc. This week we are answering some commonly asked questions, mostly geared toward home sellers today. And we have a very quick little update on what we're seeing in the real estate market right now. I know everyone is very intrigued with that. So be sure to stay tuned until the end. You're not going to want to miss anything today.
Good show. And
yes,
I mean, we've been doing this show in our home the last 4 or 5 weeks now, or are we up to 5 or 6 weeks? So a month, 2 months?
I don't know, something like that.
Time is flying though. That's what I can tell you.
Yeah.
And it's so nice and comfortable being able to produce and do a show in your own home. We're in our own home. We're in our dining room, which is pretty fun and unbelievable to say the least. So we really do get a feel, just like a lot of our clients that are coming in from out of state, is the working from home atmosphere during this time. And to produce a show like this and broadcast, I'm having a blast.
Me too. It's so much fun. And we get to feel like it, hopefully like it would feel if we were sitting at your kitchen table, as we do with many of our home sellers, having a conversation like this with you. So hopefully it's just a laid back conversation and you grab a lot of value from it. Mm-hmm. We both have our drinks. I have a tea and he's got a coffee. I've got some chai tea here. Yep. Goat milk. So grab your beverage of choice and enjoy today's episode.
100%.
Yes,
and
enjoy.
If you're kind of like myself though, listening to podcasts, I mean, I just literally have podcasts going on in the background, whether it's off my TV on Spotify, so I just turn it up really loud, or I hook it up to a Bluetooth speaker. You don't actually have to watch things if the sound quality is up to par. And that was the whole point of us having this mic set up in the system. So we really wanted to bring that to you guys while viewing and listening from home. So I hope you guys are enjoying this show that does come out weekly. And we are talking directly to local perspective. If you guys aren't aware of that, maybe you're new to this show, we are 100% locals. We're born and raised. I was born in the Salem Hospital. Mariah was born in the Salem Hospital. Our daughter's born in the Salem Hospital. Yes. Literally, this is where we're from, and we love it, and that's how we like it. That sounds like a country song. I'm from the country, and I like it that way.
How we like it. Yeah, it's true though. I mean, a lot of our clients, we're kind of going off on a
that's fine.
Here, but
that's fine.
A lot of our clients are from YouTube, like you, watching our videos from one of our different channels we have, and are moving here from other places. We've worked with clients. I have a deal closing this week from Idaho, and then last week we closed a transaction with a family from North Carolina, and we've worked with people from so many different states now that it really every time just makes me appreciate where we live even more, because they're also excited to move here, and I hear why, and I'm like, oh, wow, we didn't think of that, or oh yeah, you can't do that where you live, or like it really just things that we take for granted because we have lived here forever, and we always hear like everyone complaining about Salem's so boring.
Fun fact is, we were talking to, I was talking to our client from North Carolina. They're now in Salem. They closed successfully on their transaction a week and a half ago. Kudos to you guys if you're listening. Shout out, way to get her done. But through our conversation, they were listening. It was either on this channel or another channel about happy hour. Where's a good place to go in Salem for a happy hour? And we gave up like 4 to 5 places. There's plenty more other areas for happy hours. But they made a really good point. There's no happy hour where they live. And I was like, why don't you guys have happy hour or happy hour menu at least? Because I don't solely look at happy hour as like a drinking menu. Right. And they're like, well, they just feel like it condones drinking, and that's why they kind of don't call it that. They might call it a special. I don't know, something like that. But there's not the actual verbiage of a happy hour in those areas, which I thought was pretty funny.
It's the little things you wouldn't expect that, we take for granted.
Right.
All those oyster happy hours.
So Mariah, give us an overview of what today looks like so our listener knows what to be looking out for.
Well, like I said in the beginning, this is really just for home sellers. I mean, we're going to obviously every show we kind of just throw, like this intro got really long. We don't really know where direction it's exactly going to go. So I'm positive we'll throw in tips for buyers as well. So hopefully whether you're a seller or a buyer, I'm pretty sure you'll be able to grab value from it. But a good chunk of our questions that we're answering, we're really just answering commonly asked viewer questions. And these are really mainly geared toward home sellers. So people wanting to sell right now. Some of these are common fears, questions, misconceptions that we've been hearing lately. So,
and by the end of today's show, I do have an article I want to read out loud. It might be lengthy, but I think it's wise to it's kind of like a market update. So if you guys are listening, that will hold a lot of value for you, whether you're a seller or buyer.
Perfect. Okay. So the question number 1, I have $10,000 to put towards getting my home ready to put on the market. What are the most important things we should focus on?
Okay, so you have $10,000 getting your home on the market. What's important?
I'm curious if our answers will be the same because I kind of know what
for me.
I'm
going to go with the top 3 for me. Okay, functionality, making sure your appliances are working, your drainage is there, roof leaks are patched up, whatever. If you're not replacing a full roof, make sure those fixes are made. $10,000 can go a long way. Like I just hired Action Drain out here to get our drainage clogged for storm drains. That's $200. There's little things like that. Like I would consider that's what's getting your home ready to sell. Now, once those little things are done, let's focus on curb appeal and photography. What is going to make your home shine? What's going to make it bright? Whether that's moving things out, hiring for a storage unit, or hiring a professional cleaner. I always recommend doing a professional cleaning because 93% of buyers are coming from online right now. And when I go in to list a home, I really, really appreciate all my sellers who actually listen to what we have to say for pointers, tips. That's ultimately going to make them more money in a home sale. So we got those mini fixes, we got decluttering, and we got cleanliness. Those are my top 3.
I agree on having a cleaner. I think it definitely goes a long way just right before you put your home on the market. Mm-hmm. I know that's something we've done whenever we've put our houses up for sale is just have a professional come in and just get it really, really, really like a great deep clean. And then of course you have to clean it as, it's on the market if it doesn't sell in 2 days, but, you know what I mean? Yeah. So I think a cleaner is a great idea and it's, inexpensive. For $10,000 you'll have a lot more money to use for everything else.
$300-$400 is worth it.
I think a huge thing you should focus on is curb appeal because at the end of the day, the buyers are not, if they don't like the outside of the home, they're not even going to see the inside. Like you might have the most beautifully updated home, which unfortunately reminds me of our home right now, how we did everything to the inside, but we haven't done the outside yet because
but our bad timing.
Nice. Yeah, our landscaping's great, but we're waiting to repaint and stuff, which we'll do, but probably next summer. But anyway, kind of is what it reminds me of. But how you generally want the outside to look as nice as or nicer than the inside. Mm-hmm. So I think because that's the first impression. If they don't, I've actually sat down with buyers before, and we've been scrolling through listing photos and. After seeing the photos of the outside of the home, if it's just a little run down or they don't even sometimes want to see the rest of the photos. And so they could be missing out on your home. So exterior, and you don't have to go crazy. You don't have to replace all your siding. Just get it.
I'd say curb appeal is the biggie.
Appeal.
You're going to know if your house needs painted or not, caulked and painted. I mean, you can't really get around that one.
Yes.
But do the minimal little things that aren't going to cost you a ton of money. If you need to get a landscaping crew, get them out there. Spend $1,000 out of the $10,000 to get your whole yard landscape, trees trimmed, shrubs trimmed, weeds pulled, that type of thing. Yeah. Bring in a full thing of fresh bark dust, whatever it may be. Yeah. And get that yard green if you're in the summertime.
Yes. And then the second thing I would say is I always say paint, because paint is something that for the cost, it can make a big difference and it goes a long way. And a fresh coat of paint can really freshen up a home and make a huge difference. And or if you have a room that's, maybe it doesn't necessarily need painted, but it's a bright color or something that's just not, everyone might not like, then painting it something a little more neutral that more buyers would like, then I think that's goes a long way.
But don't feel like you have to go wild crazy. I gotta get everything perfect.
No.
There's going to be little things. I mean, $10,000 in today's world get you so far. Yeah. And that's what I mean. Do these little things that will come up on maybe the inspection report that could hinder your sale, whether it's hazard, whether it's functionality. Get it dealt with early rather than later. And that's my real advice for you guys, because people right now in today's real estate market, they are kind of stabbing a seller, especially during the inspection period. They're getting these lengthy reports at times if they're kind of older homes or just there's fixes that needed to be made. And then they're gouging them with either repairless or seller's closing costs, or them to pay buyer's closing costs. And that, I mean, ultimately a seller wants to avoid, right? And that's why we represent our sellers to negotiate for you. But we have to do our part too, so we can be wise during that negotiation phase.
Right. That's good. Okay. Next question. How do you know when you're ready to sell your home? This is such a big decision.
It really is. I mean, but you and I were like black or white, yes or no. You know, like we feel it, we do it. Like if I have the feeling I want to sell this property I'm in right now, I'm going to have it listed in a week. I'm out of here. Goodbye. And that really is a real decision though, that we could do. We could just go for it. And I'm going to do the fixes I just said I would before putting it on market. And that's what I meant. I'm doing my drainage. I'm just prepping everything to just be ready to go for when the time comes. It doesn't have to be now.
Right. I think you're ready to sell your home when the Lord tells you to.
Yes. Gut feelings.
It's such a personal decision. I mean, I don't really think there's a big... If it it matches your goals and it makes sense to you, and two, it's like I said, it's just what's right for you, and you probably can know that.
Well, there's so many variables in a home sale. Are you out for the money? Are you out for an exchange? Are you out for an upgrade? Are you relocating to another state? Because Oregon, I mean, look at our sales prices. They're so high. Yeah. I mean, I keep saying the average is like 430, 460 range. I mean, I'm on the MLS just yesterday searching a 2-mile radius around our house. 2 miles goes a long way inside of Salem. And I mean, I was looking at what was for sale at 400, 390. It was just not that well taken care of homes.
But okay, listen.
But there's money.
They're high, but compare our prices for being on this beautiful side of the country, which I love personally. I love too. There's so many things about the other side of the country that you just can't get here, like that we have that they don't have, or things that they have to deal with, like crazy annoying things that we don't have to deal with. So for being on this side of the country though, like think of just all the other places, the Pacific Northwest, like other towns, even Portland, like I know prices in Portland obviously have gotten crazy high, and Salem is low compared to Portland, but even compare Portland to other cities on the Northwest or Pacific Northwest. Look at Seattle, Vancouver, BC, look at like San Francisco, any of those places that are all on like this side of the West Coast, like they're going to be way higher. We're still lower compared to those places. We're just higher than like Nebraska. Yeah. But who wants to live in Nebraska?
Yeah. And in today's world, I mean, I keep looking at this super high inflation. I keep looking at employment, hourly wages. I mean, in a way, I think I was talking to you about this. I'm like, have you ever seen a wage go down? I mean, just like rent prices. Do rent prices go down, or do they just keep going up? So this is where that new normal aspect comes into play, with the cost of goods, production, produce, that type of thing. I mean, we've raised our wages. You go to McDonald's, you're getting 15, 16, 17 an hour starting wage. And that is putting a lot of pressure on these small businesses, which I'm starting to, I mean, I have been feeling the heat for them for a long time now. And that's why I want to rep in just congratulate and thank openly all of our local small businesses.
Yes. And we should do like, in upcoming shows. We should do more shout outs to
I want to do shout outs. I want to actually be bringing more business owners, local businesses onto this podcast. I just need to get another mic set up, camera angled to them. And I want people to really just share their experiences over the last 3 years especially, but how we as a community can help each other, but bond and make sure that these corporations are not driving our small local business owners out of the race, so we can have families generations and generations.
Right, because that is another thing that I really like about Salem is there is a lot of local small businesses that you can support and that are just awesome, and they're way better, in my opinion, than the chains. Like a lot of these towns you go to when you travel, or even just going like maybe to smaller, like more outskirt towns, like you just see a lot of big chains. But in Salem, there's really a ton of local. You don't see, I feel like on like the North Salem area, there's more chains, but South Salem especially, and then even down, and of course downtown, there's like so many local restaurants, bars,
100%.
coffee shops.
And I remember
boutiques.
like traveling to like kind of across the country. I feel like being on the West Coast, we do have a lot of different types and unique characteristics that only small businesses that I don't see while we've traveled, like going to Nashville and those type of things. I mean, a lot of this stuff is just chain production and I mean, it's just a different vibe. It's a different feeling. And so that's what makes it so nice living in Oregon, in Salem, because of the location, but also the people and the atmosphere that's created around us.
Right. Yes.
How did we get on this tangent, though? We
what
were
are we even talking about? I don't know.
We were talking about prepping your home to sell with $10,000 budgets.
Anyway,
so.
Our last question was, how do you know when you're ready to sell your home? Well,
yeah.
There you go. That was our answer to your question.
There you go, baby.
Our long
figure
answer.
out, like I said, tons of variables. Tons of variables.
Yes, if it just makes sense and it's the thing to do. Okay, I'm afraid to put my home on the market because it's older, and I think the buyers could end up asking for $50,000 in repairs potentially. What are your thoughts on this?
Ooh.
I think, okay, first of all, I think...
Let us come look at it first.
Yes, because I think it's easy to assume, like a lot of sellers that have especially like owned their home for a really long time, they assume that their home just isn't going to sell because, like for my grandma, for example, she lives in California.
Yeah, prime example.
And her home has gone up. It's so much in value. Obviously, it's a very like modest little home, but it's gone up so much in value, but she hasn't done anything to it. Like ever. I think it was built in like, I don't know, what, 50s? I don't know, something like that. Probably but she hasn't done anything. Maybe it isn't that old, but she hasn't done anything to it. And she's just like so convinced that it would not sell for like, and no one would buy it because but I'm like, you have no, like, you don't understand.
I was at her house last year and it's not bad at all.
Yeah. But she just is so, and I think I see that from a lot of like elderly people, that have, especially like her, have owned and lived in their homes for a really long time. And no, I haven't done anything to this. And they just can't imagine a buyer buying it without asking them to do all these things. But
and paying
you'd
all
be
that
surprised.
money.
You'd be surprised.
I mean, I'm dealing with a potential seller just with that same exact question. Is like, what was it? I'm afraid to sell my home. Is that what the question was?
They're afraid because they think that the buyer's going to ask for like an insane amount of repairs.
And in her defense, she says that she's a hoarder or something like that, and she's living with her daughter. She is older, and her husband passed away of late, and she just doesn't necessarily know how to move on with all the material and items in the home. And I said, hey, let me help you out with that. There's services that can take that off your hands. There's estate sales that we could be doing for you, because ultimately, I think her property is worth like 600 plus too. And it's just a beautiful area. But the realization that there is worth and value in her home, she just doesn't see yet. And I'm just trying to get a face-to-face meeting with her finally after months of follow-up. And we finally got it. I'm going to be meeting her on Wednesday.
Nice.
But that's what I mean. You allow somebody. It doesn't mean we sign a contract, bam, you're stuck with the realtor. No, have a conversation with somebody, because ultimately that's going to maybe open a door that you didn't think about, or somebody from an outside perspective that does this work every day. Yeah. We do this every day. This is our business, real estate, seeing what can sell, what can be bought, condition, that type of thing. Valuing our opinion at the end of the day could be one of the best decisions you've made in a very, very long time. If you're in that 55 plus category that just has lived in your home for 20 plus years, I mean, I would be the same way. I'm like tunnel vision. If I'm doing the same thing for 20 years, living in the same routines, same appliances, same flooring, all that, like you just can't really fathom that your property is worth $600,000 and you owe zero on your home, and now you're a half a millionaire.
Especially when it's usually like the elderly people who probably bought their home, you know, they could have bought it in the 70s for $10,000 or $7,000. And
if you bought your home in 1990 on a 30 years mortgage, never touched it, you are completely out of debt.
But what
1990,
I would say,
that's not too far away.
What I would say to someone who's concerned that a buyer is going to ask for $50,000 in repairs before they buy their home is one, there's never any reason for a buyer to ask for that. And here, the reason why is because unless your home, say it's not it's not financeable because the roof is caving in and it doesn't, like if there's these terrible things wrong with it that have to be done. And in that case, is it even livable? Like you're living there. So I don't think if you're living there, I doubt there's $50,000 in repairs, maybe in repairs if you're including cosmetic updates, but that's why you need an agent who can price it well for you, because they're going to be able to tell you what's a realistic price for this, and that way you don't have to.
Want to hear some beautiful verbiage? What? Sold as is.
Yes. We see it all the time. Yes.
My seller made it very clear to me last week. I'm not doing a single repair. Yeah. This is sold as is, and I'm not doing anything. They can have an inspection, but it is sold as is. And I say, okay, it will be communicated. Now, if an appraiser says something has to be done in order to close, you know what's cool? The buyer can step up in some ways and take care of these repairs if they really want the home. And I have a transaction that's taking place right now, and it's closing. Literally, it's getting signed right now. Believe it or not, it escrow. So there's so many options, and that's why, I mean, it does not hurt to ask. And if you're worried about a contractor not having money to pay them, a lot of contractors in my pocketbook will be paid through escrow. They'll do the work up front, take the chance. Ultimately, they'll make you sign a contract. You got to pay within X amount of days. Right. But your home is going to sell in this type of market. It's a seller's market. Yes. If it's priced accordingly, being represented by the best agents in town, Veggies Crawford Realty, got to toot my own horn there, it's going to sell. We're going to do what it takes to sell.
Also, as long as your home is financeable, we do this a lot. Probably more often than not. As long as the home is financeable and it's not like missing a foundation or something, then instead of even having to pay up front, if you're concerned about not having like any money at all to do the repairs, instead of having to pay up front, we can negotiate with the buyer and say, we'll lower the price we just did this where we lowered the price. I was representing the buyer and they asked for all these repairs, and the seller ended up lowering the price by, it was only $1,000, which we've seen it where it's a lot more or less, but it was $1,000 is what all these repairs would have been. So the seller didn't have to pay anything out of pocket. The sale price was just lowered by $1,000, or you can do like $1,000 towards their towards their closing costs, and that's usually the buyer's more in favor of that because that's $1,000 less they have to come up with at closing. So there's ways we can do this and negotiate where you do not have to have the money to do the repairs.
Options. So rely on the people that do this every day.
Yes.
I mean, transactions are key, and we definitely have a lot of transactions. We're top producers in our company. So please feel free to ask us.
Okay. So the last question today is actually, when is the best time of year to sell my home? It's a 2-part question. That's the first question. I love that question. I love this because I get this all the time when I'm cold calling. And number 2, did I miss the boat? Like talking about to sell.
Did I miss the boat?
Ooh.
Did I? Dun, dun, dun. How do you want to answer that? Do you want me to go? Or?
I'll go. Okay. The best time of year to sell your house is when you're ready to sell your house and it's a good time for you. We have helped clients get top dollar for their home consistently. Every time of year, all year round. People say real estate stops in the winter. That's not true. We have had our best months in December. We have sold our own personal home closed like right before Thanksgiving and sold for top dollar. Like, it does not, this is such a myth because there's pros and cons to listing any time of year. But I think at the end of the day, really, it's just when is it right for you? That's the best time of year to list your home. And then to answer the second part, and then I'll let you answer. Sorry, I'm just.
No, you're good.
Did I miss the boat?
You're going to know if you missed the boat.
You missed. Okay. Well, I think, in my opinion, you missed the boat to get 20 offers, $50,000 over asking price.
Absolutely.
And be extremely unrealistic. But did you miss the boat as far as, is it still a seller's market? Yes, absolutely.
Are you still making money?
It is still a seller's market. It is still in the seller's favor. The buyers are still in the begging position, although things are much easier for them, thank goodness. But it is still a seller's market at the end of the day. So I don't think you've missed the boat. We are seeing more inventory, so there is more competition for you as a seller. Like you just had a listing. What just happened with that?
Thank you for bringing that up. Actually, I was going to include that in my explanation.
I think it's always good to give real life examples of like, this is what we're actually seeing on our listings.
So I get a listing listed last week. in a rural town about 40 minutes away from Salem off 22, Mill City, if you've ever heard of it. Beautiful town. I grew up there. Still know a few people there. But I interviewed for this listing, got the listing, and after seeing all my comps and CMAs, I mean, you got to be really careful with pricing and the strategy taken to find the correct buyer in a short amount of time like they were wanting. And I went above and beyond. No home in Mill City, from my knowledge during this time, has been staged, has been vacant, and the seller really do what it takes to get an offer like they would have 4 or 5 months ago with multiple offers and over ask price. And so I'm taking a risk, though, because we are in somewhat of a market shift. Interest rates are up. Every home in Mill City has been on market for over 20 days. Some have been on market for like 45 plus days with no activity. I called the listing agents and said, hey, what's going on? They're like, it's just the market. And they're blaming it on the market. Because that's all you can blame it on at this point. Your home isn't selling or your listing isn't selling. So what is it? Your fault? No, it's the market's fault.
It's the market.
So strategically, I got to take some type of risks. I get the home staged. My pricing, I was nervous because we're the highest list 3-bed, 2-bath with the square footage, but we do have some updates. So I'm taking a risk. But the staging is going to be the over-the-top factor that people are viewing it from online. 93% of buyers are coming from online. So how do I create a perspective that somebody wants to come see it? Really quick, ASAP before it's gone. How is this thing going to look more sellable than the other 4 in the same town? I don't know. Marketing. So that's why I decided to list the home with it being staged. Guess what? 2 days later, I have an accepted offer over ask price by $100.
Woo!
But the moral of that story is the market is still there if you're working with some type of agent that has perspective, though, honestly. And the seller, though, they went above and beyond of everything I asked them to do, and they did it in a week's time.
But I will also say it was the only showing is the one that made an offer.
Yes.
And I think that also speaks to
100.
the area when you're listing a home or when
1,000.
you're selling. If you're a home seller and you're listing, when you're selling in an area that is such a small population like Mill City, you're not having tons and tons of buyers, especially if you're in a little bit higher of a price point for the area. You're not going to be getting flooded with showings, but the buyers that do come are really serious, which is why I wasn't surprised when the first showing was the one that made an offer.
Absolutely.
And then also, I will add, I remember just talking about like what we're seeing in the market. I remember talking to Spencer when this was first listed, and he was like, because we were actually camping and he didn't have service, and he was like, I'm concerned because we finally got service, and he's like, is my phone working? I don't have calls. I got a new listing. I'm expecting to get.
There's no way I haven't gotten at least 5 phone calls.
Usually if I get a new listing, I'm going to get like, my phone's going to be blowing up the first day.
I was listening on a Wednesday.
And he didn't have any. And I was saying like, my thoughts were, because it's in Mill City and because of what we're seeing in the market, it's not going to sell in a week. I thought give it like, it's for sure going to sell. It's for sure going to sell at this price, but let's give it 30 days max and it'll be gone.
Yeah.
But good job. You exceeded that. Yes.
And I mean, we did the absolute right thing. We found a fantastic buyer that wants the home, and that's what you want in a home sale. And the terms were exactly how we wanted them. The seller wanted them, and he was very clear it wasn't going to sell unless these terms were correct.
Yeah.
And
he was a tough.
We performed.
Yeah, tough.
He's such a good guy.
To please, not in a bad way.
Yeah.
But just had high expectations, which is good.
He's
old
old
high
school.
Expectations
you know, his generation.
People working for you.
It's
right.
professionalism too.
Right.
And I realized that, and he's a good guy.
Okay.
But that was risk, though, is what I'm trying to say. In a shifting market, you have to sometimes, and the seller said, Spence, I'm going to do kind of what you advise us to do. And they let me take the reins, and I'm not saying I'm the best agent. I'm not saying that whatever I say is gold.
I think you're saying that.
But what I'm saying is sometimes it's worth taking the advice of somebody that's doing this daily, every day, even though you've sold 5 homes in your lifespan. Yeah. You know, you do have some type of real estate knowledge. Great job. But what's happening right here and now is so astronomically different than we've seen. And you really got to be on top of it, because if you're sitting for 15, 20, 30 days doing 5,000 price reduction, you're going to get overlooked, and then it's going to turn into that expired listing. And I'm going to be knocking on your door saying, why didn't you hire me? Let's go and renew this listing and get the job done right this time around. Because because that's what I do with expired listings. I always get to talk to those sellers, hear them out, hear their story, and now we are where we are, and I get to come out to be the hero to get their home sold. And that's, I mean, I do love expired listings because of that. Yeah.
You do get those expired sold.
But
You can't sell. Okay, so now we have a quick market update.
Okay.
So I just have this little bit of information. So Kaiser, Oregon. This is just to share a little bit of how much, obviously, homes have appreciated in our area and where the market pricing is at right now. So just to take one little area where we're at, for example, Kaiser, Oregon, that's just north of Salem. Salem, Kaiser, they share a school district, very similar. It is the 97303 zip code in our area.
Kaiser.
Yeah, great area.
Dude, that Kaiser station is crazy
I love
right
the
now.
Kaiser station. They just put in a Chick-fil-A.
The Chick-fil-A.
I think it just opened a few days ago.
Yeah, I think the 4th or 5th. This is insane. I haven't been there yet.
Okay, so the average home value for Kaiser right now is $447,000, and that is up from a year ago at this time. It was $382,000.
Wait, it jumped over like 60 grand.
It did. I'm not surprised.
Wow. So say you
Not
bought your home
surprised.
last year.
Yeah, you could sell it now.
Odds are you just made 60 grand plus whatever you put down on it.
Yep.
That's pretty impressive.
More if you added value to the home.
Dude, what's that percentage yearly? Because I mean, I remember when
18%?
18%?
Isn't that 18%? I don't know, but
it's going to be roughly around that.
Yeah, I don't.
I mean, yeah, because we've been going about 20%, 14 to 18% yearly. I mean,
it's been
in some
like the last
counties.
couple years in some places in our area. It's been like 20% a year, which is
literally
unhealthily high, but also awesome if you're a homeowner.
High. Yeah, it's awesome if you're a
It's awesome
homeowner.
if you own a home.
Because like I said, if you're planning to leave Oregon, like a lot of people have been over the last few years, I'm just saying that's a reality.
And
people
a lot
are
of people
selling to get out of state.
are coming here too.
And then the people come here.
Yes.
So it's like, yes, I can still sell my house,
Yes.
but then I have all this equity. Where do I put my money?
Yeah.
They're like, do I invest it? Do I reinvest it in another property? Am I going to buy something cash and live financially free like Dave Ramsey? What do I do?
No, you're not.
I'm just saying, these are real questions in extreme markets that we've never seen. The unpredictability is there. Don't get me wrong. But while we're in it, I'm riding this wave. And my wave's to make some money for you as a seller and put some coin in your pocket. I leave every listing appointment saying that. How can I better you and put coin in your pocket? Say it doesn't work out and you think you can do it on your own and you want an X amount of price. I'm probably not going to be the guy to sell the home for you. I'm not going to puff a home, spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars into marketing, and then it expire.
Right.
Now, I'm that expired listing I was just talking about. That is not my business.
Because as agents, that hurts us.
Yes.
One, it looks bad, and two, it costs us money because every month we're paying for staging. Every month that
my
goes by our
bill
listing
was
as it's sold.
$2,000.
Yeah, we're paying for staging, and then we have professional photos, professional video. It's not. Yeah. Anyway, okay.
But there's
back to the market.
There's things that happen. So you as the sellers take advantage, and once again, it comes down to the real estate communication and advice that you're seeking.
Yes.
So feel free to reach out if you guys are listening. We are happy to help you with just a general question. Okay, and we do have contact information below.
Yes.
But I do have this article that I'm sent weekly, every Sunday. Our CEO, Berkshire Hathaway, sends it out to us, and I really have pleasure in reading these every day. I usually highlight it and have it read out loud to me, just because I'm more of a visual learner.
It's very in depth, and it's right now. It's like the most current right now information from professionals that are actually like deep in the market with day in and day out. So
all right, so I'm just gonna read it straight off the top. Excuse my reading skills if I get hiccuped up, but I want you guys to just visualize and listen to this as I do audibly every week. Good morning. Of labor statistics reported this week in real estate that local employment increased by 528,000 in July, much better than expected in a sign of strength for the job market, which is great. The economy, people are employed, jobs are flowing. The economy has now recouped the 22 million positions lost early in the pandemic and is 32,000 jobs higher than in February of 2020. So if that tells you anything, there's 32,000 people roughly employed more than it was in 2020 before the pandemic. Now, okay, jobs hired. The unemployment rate is now back to its pre-pandemic level and tried for the lowest since 1969. Below, that's a lot of years.
Yeah, that is.
Below are a few newsworthy events from the first week of August that influence our business. So here we go. Our business, real estate. This isn't a housing bubble. That's how this article starts out. Very comforting because everybody, mainstream media, we're in a bubble. It's going to go, guys. With all the headlines and buzz in the media, some consumers believe the market is in a housing bubble. It's only natural for concerns to creep in that it could be a repeat of what took place in 2008. The good news is there's concrete data to show why this is nothing like the last time. There's a shortage of homes on the market today, not a surplus.
Yes.
Back then, there was a surplus. There were so many homes to choose from at a cheaper rate. I mean, honestly. But at that time, they were higher for the people at that time, lower inflation. Mm-hmm. The supply of inventory needed to sustain a normal real estate market is approximately 6 months. Anything more than this is an overabundance and will cause prices to depreciate. So we're looking for a 6-month mark until we usually see depreciation in home sales. Yeah. Anything less than this is a shortage and will lead to continued price appreciation. Yeah. For historical content, there were too many homes for sale during the housing crisis in 2008, and that caused prices to tumble. Today, supply is growing, but there's still a shortage of inventory available. One of the reasons inventory is still low is because of sustainable underbuilding. When you couple that with ongoing buyer demands as millennials are into their peak home buying years, it continues to put upward pressure on home prices. That limits supply compared to buyer demand is why experts forecast home prices won't fall this time. Mortgage standards were much more relaxed during the crash. That was a biggie. The mortgage industry was so lax. They were just handing out mortgages. Yeah. Teachers, they had like 5-6 homes. I mean, on a salary, you can't afford that in a bad market. And look at what happened.
They locked down a lot.
Running up to 2006, banks were creating artificial demand by lowering lending standards and making it easy for just about anyone to qualify for a home loan or refinance their current home. Back then, lending institutions took on much greater risks in both the person and the mortgage product offered. That led to mass defaults, foreclosures, and falling prices. So if you're a buyer out there, like I've had over the few years now, man, I'm just waiting for the market to crash. There's going to be a lot of foreclosures. Jobs, people are going to become unemployed. They're not going to be able to pay their mortgage. Foreclosure. Man, I'm going to get a house at half price. Well, guess what? The foreclosure process is not the same as it was in 2007, 8, 9, 10, and 11. No. The banks have become greedy, guys, and they're almost acting as real estate agents, making sure that the home is appraised at appropriate value, and you can't actually submit an offer at $200,000 and get an acceptance. You will have to pay that appraisal price in reality if it's owned by the bank. They become greedy. The foreclosure volume is nothing like it was during the crash. The most obvious difference is the number of homeowners that were facing foreclosure after the housing bubble burst. Foreclosure activity has been on the way down since the crash because buyers today are more qualified and less likely to default on their loans. In addition, homeowners today are equity rich. Like we've been talking, if you're a homeowner in Kaiser, you just had $60,000 put in your bank account if you were to sell today, automatically.
Right. With that much equity, how could you default,
Today are equity rich, not tapped out. Yeah. With the average home equity now standing at $207,000. So if you're a homeowner, on average, you own $207,000 worth of real estate, cash in hand if you were to sell. Homeowners are in a complete different position this time. That little short clip of the article, I got about like 5 or 6 more sections, actually 2 more sections. I'm not going to go off on them. There's a lot to unpack there. But that was just a brief comparison, though, of the housing crisis in 6, 7, and 8 to now. And why maybe we're not going to be seeing home depreciation over the next year, 2 years.
Right. And if we do, certainly not as drastic because, like all that said, the things that were going on at that time are definitely not happening.
Just a lending requirements
now. Obviously, anything can happen in this crazy world. Nothing would surprise me, but I still don't think. I think things will eventually, and I mean eventually, like not anytime soon, level out a little bit and not appreciate as high. But then that's all I'm gonna say. Sorry, I'm just.
But that's why I mean, like, if you are looking to be a home buyer, home purchaser, make sure you can afford your mortgage.
Yeah.
And what's nice though is I was just talking about lender requirements. There's reason. There was a bigger and a more rate of foreclosures back then than there are now and will be because the lending requirement. They actually want to make sure you can afford your mortgage.
Yeah.
And with that being said, I think we're still in a strong, heavy seller's market. There has been a little bit more inventory coming on market. We're at about 2 months of inventory, by the way. And you just heard it on the article. 6 months is normal. Anything above 6, that's where you might see a steady leveling off of home appreciation, and there being slight dips. So
after 6, there'll be slight dips, but at 6,
we're at 2,
it would
guys.
just be even.
We're at 2.
2.
I remember
months.
when it was 3, even 4.
Yeah.
And it was still such a strong market then. I couldn't believe it. So things just took a little bit longer to sell. That's it. It doesn't mean your appreciation, your equity in your home just dissipates and just goes into thin air.
Totally.
It's still there. Reach out if you need us.
And I was, before we end though, I just want to say I saw, and I'm sure we've, said this before on our channel, but it's just so true. I saw I think it was on Instagram or somewhere. I saw someone post something like a realtor or lender the other day talking about, it was just showing like this was home prices in 1970. This was home prices in 1980. Home prices in 2008. Home prices in that. And it's like, at the end of the day, like we always say, homeownership is such an amazing thing because people bought, like we have worked with home sellers who bought their home for $7,000. Homes will never, I don't care how much they go down or what crazy crash happens, they will never be $7,000 again. Ever. Eventually, over time, real estate goes up, and it is the fastest, lowest risk way to build wealth, and that is a fact. It is the lowest risk way.
100%.
So,
and the most fun with clients that I personally get is when we get to make you some serious money. And the best stories for me is that exact clientele. They bought, something for $7,000-10,000, and they haven't put a dime into it, rented it out the whole time. So the tenant paid their everything. It's paid off, and now they're making monthly, every time. But then when they go to sell it, they're just like, I'm not really being greedy. What's my tax on this? And that's all they really care about because
they've already made so much.
They're making so much money and they haven't even put a single dollar into the structure or anything because they found a really good tenant in rental agreement. So
I just think to end, as I already said again, I just think that I hate when I hear as a real estate agent, like, oh, you're only saying it's a good time to buy because you're a realtor and you want sales, or you're only saying it's a good time to sell because of this. But truly, like from the bottom of my heart, as this is advice I would give myself, because I would buy a house right now.
Well, we did. We bought a house 2 weeks ago.
Right, we did buy a house right now. And I would do it again right now. Yeah. And I would also sell a house right now. So with that being said, I'm someone that knows what's going on in the market, and I would buy myself and I would sell myself. So that's me saying, like, with your best interest in mind, I believe it is a good time to buy. And I also believe it's a good time to sell.
Well, that's it.
Yeah,
that's how we have it. This is Real Estate Mariah Spenc. Thank you for just sitting, hanging out with us in our own dining room and listening about the 2022, we're in August real estate market update and what it could do and benefit you to get your home ready to list.
Yes.
How do you do it, Mariah? Let's bullet point because we've kind of gotten on tangents.
My goodness. Oh, okay. Whoa. Whoops. Wait, what did you say? What?
Today's show, it's about how to get your home sold or what to prep for.
Oh, prep for your home to sell?
What was it, right?
We had questions, dude. Oh. These were different questions.
Oh, there were all types of questions?
Yeah.
I felt like it was more towards a home seller, though.
Yeah, it was more towards a home seller. So 3 tips for home sellers. Okay.
Leave it off with that. Yeah.
Okay.
3 tips for a home seller.
1 tip, focus on your curb appeal. Outside is important. Mm-hmm. That matters. You don't have to spend a lot of money to make a big difference. Even just like Spencer said, cleaning and decluttering makes a massive difference, and that can be free. 2 is trust your real estate agent because it is imperative right now. You cannot be basing what your expectations are for your home sale or what you want to list your home at. You cannot be basing it off of your neighbor's home that sold 3 weeks ago, because things are different than they were 3 weeks ago. And in 3 weeks from now, they might be different again. So trust your real estate advisor and the advice that they're giving you. And 3 is
home clean.
Clean your home. Yeah.
Keep it clean.
Keep your home clean. All right. Well,
up, guys.
all right.
All right.
We'll see you guys
That's all we
next
have
week.
today.